The sun will be in its debilitation sign, so this is surely a watch out placement for some of you, especially in the areas of the house that the sun rules in your horoscope. Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. We have been doing this entire series of the transits of different planets. We have done the important transits, Saturn's, then we have done the transits of Rahu and Ketu, which are going to happen in a few days from now. And I have also promised to you that every now and then the important transits which I feel have a strong bearing or may have a strong bearing on your life, I will surely do those transits. So one transit which is an important one which is coming up in a few days is actually a regular transit of Sun which happens in a different sign every month. However, why this becomes important is because Sun is going to get into its debilitation sign of Libra. And it's important to remember that when Sun goes into the sign of Libra, the sign that it goes into after the sign of Libra's transit is in the sign of Scorpio, which means whatever you do in the sign of Libra's Sun's transit during that sign will have a strong bearing of when Sun will give you, what kind of results it will give you when Sun goes into Scorpio, which is the 8th house in the Kalpurush Kundi. So definitely Sun going through its debilitation sign transit to Libra is an important one, not to be missed, not to be ignored. And so let's jump in and see how Sun's transit into Libra sign for different ascendants will play out, different permutation, combinations and different kind of results as well as opportunities for all of us. Now for Aries ascendant natives, in a few days Sun will be transiting into your Libra sign in the 7th house. Now it's important because Sun is going into the 7th house of partnerships, relationships, your marital life also, while Sun rules the 5th house of romance, of power, authority and career changes also. So here Sun going into its debilitation sign means all the areas of that house that Sun rules and what areas the Sun is the Karak of, which is the soul, your success, your self-respect, your pride, your dignity, your authority in life, all that Sun represents, including your rise, your ability to shine in life, growth, all those areas will also be highlighted. So Sun going into its debilitation sign, which means in partnerships, in relationships, in acquaintances, your ability to be able to deal with them may also have a bearing on the areas of the 5th house or the results of the 5th house, including power, authority or even career change, which the 5th house represents because of being 8th from the 10th house. So all of these will be in focus for Aries ascendant native. Now because Sun is also going to be in usual aspect with Jupiter from the Lagna of Aries ascendant natives, rising sign of Aries. So obviously Sun will also be given some protection from Jupiter. However, remember that Sun is in its debilitation sign, and so those results may still come by upon you in spite of Jupiter's protective aspect on the Sun. And the double protection that Jupiter offers is also not only it's one of its aspects on the Sun, but Jupiter also aspecting with its 5th aspect on Sun sign of Leo. However, we also see Saturn aspecting Sun sign of Leo with its direct aspect, the 7th aspect, a more powerful aspect than Jupiter's 5th aspect. So here Saturn will slow down the results of the 5th house, which is career changes, power, authority, romantic liaison as well. So because Sun is going into the 7th house of partnership relationships, so this will be very important for those people who are married people or who are in the relationship. So be careful of how you are dealing with the relationship because Sun is going into its debilitation sign. Why Sun goes into debilitation in Libra is because Sun is more authoritative. Sun gives a lot more importance to self-pride rather than relationships. In relationships, sometimes you have to eat the humble pie. You also have to bow the head, which Sun is not ready to do. So in your relationships, in your marital relationships, and in your romantic relationship, there may be a challenge if you want to push authority, if you want to push that I should be leading, I should be the one who's controlling, I should be the one who takes decisions. So be a little careful here. The other thing is because Jupiter is aspecting Sun, but Sun is also aspecting Jupiter back in Aries, what it shows is that you should have given the authority to Jupiter or to be led by Jupiter rather than Sun in the area of relationship, in the area of partnerships and acquaintances, which means rather than being led by your dignity, your need for authority and wanting to control, you should allow Jupiter's wisdom, Jupiter's intellect, Jupiter's learning ability, experiential ability to be able to control relationships, attributes of acquaintances, so that you have more peace at home, you have more peace in your work area, and you have peace with your team members also. Because if you don't do that, then there may be something that you do or say which may have a long-term impact on your career, in your ability to work with teams, and also in your relationship. So be careful for Libra ascendant, for Aries ascendant natives when Sun goes into the sign of Libra. Now for Taurus ascendant natives, Sun is going into its debilitation sign in Libra, but in the 6th house, while ruling the 4th house of domestic life, domestic assets. So this is a slightly tricky placement for Taurus ascendant natives, because on one hand, Sun rules your 5th house of domestic life, your assets, your peace, your harmony, your tranquility, and is going into the 6th house of inimical relationships, challenges, problems, issues, sicknesses, even a bit of turmoil in the domestic life. And in 6th house in debilitation, surely this is a challenging placement for Taurus ascendant natives, because the house lord of 4th house itself, one of the most important houses in the horoscope, is its lord is going in debilitation in the 6th house. So what it could do is sometimes it could give you some sort of a challenge at home in your domestic life, where you start to see even your relations as being little inimical or competitive, or you feel that you're being pushed back by your partner, your marital partner, your wife, your spouse, if you are in a live-in relationship, maybe by your girlfriend or boyfriend. So you need to be really careful, because this is one of our toughest placements for Sun's debilitation, being ruler of the 4th house, especially for Taurus ascendant natives. Now the good thing is, because Sun is going to be in mutual aspect from Jupiter from the 12th house. In fact, the 12th house has the Aries sign where Sun gets exalted. So Jupiter is going to be more protective of the Sun as well. However, the main challenge is that because Sun rules your self-respect, your pride, your dignity, your authority, sometimes you try to push hard for dignity, authority, leadership in your domestic life. So the zodiac is telling you, with the mutual aspect with Jupiter, is allow the wisdom of Jupiter to take over in the matter of domestic life. Otherwise, there could be challenging situation at home where you could unnecessarily say something, create situations which may have a long-term impact. Because remember, from Libra sign, which is also sign of relations, Sun will next month go into the sign of Scorpio, into your 7th house. So whatever you say or do over the next 1 month may have a strong bearing on results which may come next month for you. A sign of upheavals, transformations, challenges, which is the Scorpio sign. You need to be so a little careful of what you say, how you act, how you react, or how you lead relationships. Now Jupiter will also be more protective of the Sun, because Jupiter also aspects the Leo sign. However, the challenging placement is also of Saturn also aspecting the 5th house, and that too with its direct 7th aspect, its most powerful aspect, more powerful than even Jupiter, which means Saturn is going to slow down some of the results of the domestic life, which means even if you're trying to make peace at home after a fight, after some challenging episode, it will not be easy, and sometimes it may take months for you to be able to bring the situation to normalcy or to neutrality. So this is surely work in progress for you. The other thing that this particular transit is saying is that allow Jupiter to have the overhand, not only in terms of your relationship in your domestic life, but also at work. So you may have people at work who may act behind your back, who may be inimical to you. In meetings, they may pick on you. So be little careful how you deal with them, because if you are not able to deal well with them, then it may take a lot of time to be able to salvage the situation. Sun is also your authority, your leadership. So your leadership, your ability to lead people, your growth may be compromised long term. So this is surely a work in progress for Taurus ascendant natives. Now for Gemini ascendant natives, Sun, while ruling the third house, moves into your fifth house in the sign of Libra, the sign of relations. Now for Gemini rising sign people, the fifth house is the house of also your romance, and it has the sign of Libra, sign of relations. So Sun going into the debilitation, which that too the third house Lord, means somewhere in your communication you may come across to others. Whether you are actually harsh or not is another story. However, to your most closest of people, your closest of friends, family members, you may come across as harsh or trying to rule or trying to be more authoritative. In normal situations, the same words may be taken lightly, but not when Sun is transiting through its debilitation sign of Libra. So, some people who are closest to you, maybe even those people who are in relationship with you, romantic relationship, or even as your spouse, may not take those words lightly. In fact, they may say, you know what, you keep saying these words, I've allowed you to get away with it, but now I'm not allowing you to. So it may boil up, or it may kind of explode now, because Sun is going through its debilitation sign in the sign of Libra in the fifth house. So even at work, because the third house where the Leo sign is also the third house is the house of your efforts, what you gain from your efforts. If you're putting a lot of efforts in your career, and keep in mind that the fifth house is the house of change in your career, being the 8th house to the 10th house. So your efforts at work may not give you the kind of results because of which you may be able to change your career or change your job. So be careful, especially some change opportunities coming by your way. Be careful before you take the road. Do your due diligence. And even if there is no change in your career or your organization, but maybe some project may be given to you, so be careful how you take up the project and how you lead the project. Because Sun in Libra, which means relationships, which means at work, in some of your relations with your team members, with your connects, you may say something or may not come across as to somebody who has more humility, but come across as somebody who has more pride or even arrogance. So now Sun's mutual aspect with Jupiter says that allow Jupiter to have an upper hand. And the good thing is Jupiter is not only going to be protective with its 7th aspect on the Sun, but also with its 5th aspect on the Leo sign. So Jupiter is giving you or offering you double protection. However, the challenge for you is Saturn's direct 7th aspect or more powerful aspect on the Leo sign than Jupiter's 5th aspect on the Leo sign, which means Sun's house, the 3rd house, may have a stronger bearing of Saturn than Jupiter. So you need to be really careful of what you say, where you put in your efforts, what you do in your short journey. So if you are able to do that, then you may get better results, because Sun is still getting into the 5th house of gains, power, authority, change in your career. But surely you need to do your due diligence before you bring about that change, before you are trying to move on that path. For Cancer ascendant natives, Sun rules the 2nd house of income, livelihood, your money in the bank, nutrition, your dependence, your family lineage, your values, and Sun is now going into the 4th house in the sign of Libra, where it gets debilitated. What does this mean is that your ability to be able to get better gains, better livelihood, better rise in your increment also may be affected by virtue of the peace at home getting affected, because Sun is getting into the 4th house of domestic life, but in debilitation and in the sign of Libra, the sign of relations. So it means that you may not be able to focus or concentrate on your career, on your job, on your livelihood, and you may be engulfed by he said, she said in your career because of not being able to focus there and being focused too much in your domestic life, because of you yourself creating disturbance at home, or some disturbance at home not allowing you to have the focus in your career. Why career? Because Sun is aspecting with the 7th aspect on your 10th house. However, now you also see that there is a mutual aspect of Jupiter on the Sun. So this is a slightly protective placement because Jupiter is placed in your 10th house of career, aspecting the Sun, and Sun is aspecting Jupiter back. But what the zodiac is telling Cancer rising sign people is that allow Jupiter to have the upper hand rather than to be led by Sun's need for authority, Sun's need for self-respect, dignity, wanting to lead. Have the humility to allow your wisdom to take the front seat, and sometimes show large-heartedness, show humility to be able to then help Sun do those things, those efforts in your career, because of it you may be helping you to add increments of growth in your livelihood, growth in your nutrition. Now the challenging part is that while Jupiter is giving double protection to the Sun, the 7th aspect on the Sun and its 5th aspect on Sun's sign of Leo, Saturn's with a direct aspect, the 7th aspect on the Leo is saying not so soon. You have to slow down, buddy, which means unless you have really worked hard on your ability to have increment growth, your livelihood may not increase to the extent that you really want. So don't push for change unnecessarily. Ensure that you keep a tight lid on your expenses, otherwise because there may be some big sudden expense at home because of repairs or something, because of which you may have to dig into your savings as well. So overall, as long as you feel careful of what you say, how you deal with your family members, challenges at home, allow the wisdom of Jupiter to have the upper hand, you may be in a slightly better situation. Now for Leo ascendant natives, Sun rules the Lagna, and being the Lagna Lord is moving into the 3rd house in its debilitation sign of Libra. Now this is a slightly tricky placement for Leo ascendant natives for two reasons. One, obviously Sun is the Lagna Lord, but Sun is also the Karaka of everything in your life. The Lagna is also your status, your authority, your health, your growth, how your mind thinks, what your status in society, your stature in society is going to be. So when Sun goes into its debilitation sign in the 3rd house, which means your effort to grow your status, your stature, to be able to execute your plans will be compromised by virtue of what you say, how you communicate, how you're branding yourself, how you're presenting yourself. One reason is because the 3rd house is the house of communication, your ability to be able to influence others. However, it is the sign of Libra, Sun's debilitation sign, which means in your communication, you may say something which will impact your relationships, your ability to work with people. And because of that, the 3rd house also being house of effort, your efforts may go to naught, or your efforts may not be able to give you the fruits of the labor which you should be able to get. Because especially Sun going into its debilitation sign and the ability to influence people, communicate well, may be compromised. Now, Sun being in mutual aspect of Jupiter from the 9th house of gains, so which means that Jupiter may be protective of the Sun. In fact, there is double protection that Jupiter is offering, because on one side it is aspecting Sun in the 3rd house of effort, communication, branding, influencing, but Jupiter with its 5th aspect is also aspecting the Lagna, where Leo sign which Sun rules is placed. But the other hand, you will also find Saturn's 7th aspect, a more powerful aspect than Jupiter's 5th aspect, being on the Lagna, and through its Mul Trikona sign, which Saturn is transiting through, which means Saturn is saying, if you have truly worked hard on your efforts, on your ability to influence people, on your ability to market yourself, your goods, your services, then I will allow you better growth in your stature, in your dignity. If not, you will have to work harder. So through this month, allow Jupiter to have the upper hand, which means rather than trying to lead from the front, trying to showcase your authority, your wanting to lead with your leadership, allow Jupiter's wisdom, large-heartedness, humility to have the upper hand, so that then your overall goals in life, your stature, your dignity is not affected through Sun's transit in this month, because this could have a longer bearing in your life, or at least for some more time to come. So for Leo ascendant natives, Sun being also a Lagna Lord, surely the work is cut out for you. Now for Virgo ascendant natives, Sun rules your 12th house and transiting into your 2nd house in its debilitation sign. So this is a slightly worrying factor surely for Virgo ascendant natives, because Sun rules the 12th house, Sthana Lord. Sthana Lord going into debilitation in the second house of earning, livelihood, nutrition, family, values, ethics, family lineage. So here it surely shows there can be loss in any of these areas of the second house because of your inability to manage relations. Why relations? Because Sun is going into the sign of Libra, which is the sign of relations and also balance. So if you are trying to push authority, leadership, control on family members, on your dependents, and trying to push hard for increments in growth in your savings, in your livelihood, then it may backfire, because the 12th house is also the house of waste and excess. So your efforts may backfire and lead to waste and excess, and you can compromise severely for long term your ability to be able to get an increment in your livelihood. So you need to be careful and put in the efforts where they are due, rather than push for leadership authority. Allow Jupiter to have the upper hand, because Jupiter is the planet of humility and wisdom. Now keep in mind that Sun and Jupiter have mutual aspect on each other. So allow Jupiter the upper hand, because Jupiter is being protective of the areas of the Sun in two ways. One, Jupiter is aspecting Sun in the Libra sign. Two, Jupiter is also aspecting the Leo sign, which Sun rules. So Jupiter is offering double protection, but that is only when you allow Jupiter, which is your wisdom, your large-heartedness and your humility, to have the upper hand, rather than trying to control people or show your authority. This is also important because while Jupiter's only fifth aspect is on the Leo sign ruled by Sun, Saturn's seventh aspect, or more powerful aspect, is on the Leo sign and the 12th house, and from the 6th house, which is the Dusthana, and Jupiter is also in a Dusthana. And remember, second house is also Maraka Sthana, and Sun rules the 12th house, which is the Dusthana. So you have three Dusthanas surely getting activated, 6th, 8th and 12th in question, and second house, a Maraka Sthana with Sun debilitation sign. So surely work cut out for Virgo ascendant natives. My suggestion to you will be, ensure that you are wise, you are humble, you see through what can come upon you, what obstacles can come upon you, and take your time to take decisions. Don't rush into any decision making, especially where you're trying to show authority or trying to show control. Now for Libra ascendant natives or rising sign of Libra, Sun rules the 11th house, and Sun is going to transit in a few days into your Lagna, but in its debilitation sign. What it means is, 11th house is the house of your wishes and desires, your social network. 11th house is also the house of working in large organizations, large corporations. So surely your ability to be able to manage relations in your social life, in your extended friend circle, can be compromised because of you trying to come across, or you may come across to them as slightly more haughty, slightly showing somebody more arrogance, trying to rule, trying to show or have a game of one-upmanship, or trying to lead them or show leadership authority over them. So surely this can be a slightly tricky placement. The other thing is, 11th house is also the house of wishes and desires, which means your wishes and desires may overcome you, and you may try to push your wish and desire for having more stature, more dignity, more control, more authority in life, and that may backfire because you may push hard, you may say certain things, your decision making may be poor, especially how you manage relations. While you push for authority, you push for growth, push for higher stature. So you need to be more careful. Now the boon being given to you is, Sun is going to be in mutual aspect with Jupiter from the 7th house. 7th house is the house of relations. So Jupiter will be helping curb some of the authoritative tendencies of Sun, especially Jupiter with also its 5th aspect on the sign of Leo ruled by Sun, surely offering you the protection. However, here you will have to allow Jupiter to have the upper hand rather than Sun. However, remember, Sun is transiting through the Lagna over your head, which means you have to be more careful how you're thinking through this month. This is also critical because Saturn's 7th aspect is directly on the Leo sign, while Jupiter's only 5th aspect is on the Leo sign in the 11th house. So Saturn is telling you, especially from its Mool Trikona sign on the 5th house, What is the fifth house? The fifth house is the natural house of the sun in the Kalpurush Kundli, because the fifth house has the Leo sign energy. So Saturn placed in the fifth house is slowing down your ability to get your wishes and desires come true and to be able to do well in large organization and in a social network. So this is surely work cut out for you. Manage your relationships. Be careful of what you say, what you do, ethical conduct you carry, not to push for your wishes and desires to come true at the cost of relationship, and ensure that you are keeping your social network intact, your friendship intact as well. Now for Scorpio ascendant natives, Sun rules the 10th house of your career and now about to transit in a few days into your 12th house, but in the sign of Libra, the sign of stabilization, which means now on one hand Sun ruling the 10th house and going into the 12th house. This has 3 or 4 denotations. One, it shows that because Sun is the Karaka of authority, of dignity, of pride, of self-respect, sometimes in your career, in your work area, you may do something, say something because of which others may see that you are trying to be more haughty, trying to show authority. And so, because Sun is going into the 12th house of waste and excess and in the sign of Libra, the sign of relations, which means in your haughtiness, when you are trying to exert over people or control people, they may see that you are impacting your ability to work with them, your relationship with them, the ability to have more balance. The Libra sign represents, and that may backfire, and there may be more wastage of efforts, and your career may not turn a better part or may not be having a positive impact. So you need to be very careful because Sun is going to transit through its debilitation sign in the 12th house. Now the other thing is Sun is going to be in mutual aspect from Jupiter. So in some way Jupiter is going to be protective of the Sun's denotations, Sun's career rulings that it has through the ruler of being the ruler of the 10th house, because Jupiter is also aspecting with his 5th aspect the 10th house of career, the sign of Leo. But the larger question to you is, because Jupiter's only 5th aspect is on the Leo sign, the 10th house of career, but Saturn through its Multikona sign is having a direct 7th aspect on the 10th house of career. Now remember, in the Kalpurush Kundli, Saturn is the natural ruler of the 10th house, which means Saturn has a strong bearing on your career, on your karma. So Saturn is saying, if you have not really worked hard on your career, in your ability to have strong bonds in your work, if you have not really worked hard for growth and for high stature and authority, then I will not allow you that till you change your perspective, till you change how you are able to lead through working on your relations, through working on your humility also. If you are able to do that, then you will have better results. However, the zodiac is screaming to you or screaming for allowing Jupiter to have the upper hand, which means rather than to be led by authority or trying to lead people or showing the need to control people, allow Jupiter's humility, Jupiter's large-heartedness, Jupiter's working from or acting from its wisdom to have a strong bearing. If you do that, then your career may be in better stead, maybe in a better situation, and some of you who are in foreign lands working for foreign companies may feel slightly more protective aspect of Jupiter rather than falling into challenges because of how you not able to behave properly and behaving through authority or dignity. So the work surely cut out for Scorpio ascendant natives. Keep this in mind. Be humble. Allow your wisdom to be handling your challenges, your issues and your career, and you will be in a better state, better position. Now for Sagittarius ascendant natives, Sun rules your 9th house and Sun is going to transit in a few days into your 11th house, but in the sign of debilitation, which is the sign of Libra. So here the simple message from the zodiac is that your gains which come from your 5th house, or how are you able to use your education, your qualification, or your credibility, or your higher learning, or even your experiences may be compromised if you are not able to work on your relations that you have connect with other people, especially your social network, or if you are working in a large organization, how you are managing your relationship in an intra-departmental situation as well. So your gains, long-term gains, your increment, your growth may be affected if you are not able to manage relationships better. The other thing the zodiac is telling you is that some of you who are trying to use your education, qualification, your experiences to be able to gain and to rise and to have a career change, you will have to be careful of how you are facing those interviews, how you are facing those appraisal discussions, if at all you are going through that. Also, how you are managing your intra-departmental connections or your social network, because that may have a long-term bearing on what gains you make, especially in long-distance travel, attending workshops, traveling to make presentations to other organizations or to your clients. So surely this is a work cut out for you. The good thing for Sagittarius rising people is that Sun is in mutual aspect from Jupiter, or Jupiter placed in the 5th house. This has a strong or important bearing. Why important bearing? Jupiter is transiting right now through your 5th house. The 5th house is the natural house ruled by Sun in the Kalpurush Kundli. So Jupiter is surely having a very protective aspect on Sun. Firstly, placed in the 5th house. The natural house Sun rules in the Kalpurush Kundli. Secondly, Jupiter aspecting Sun in the 11th house, and Jupiter also aspecting with his 5th aspect Leo sign ruled by Sun. However, the danger is because Sun is in mutual aspect with Jupiter. Many times your need for control, your need for authority, your need for leadership may outshine your humility, your wisdom, your learning, your experiences. So yeah, the zodiac is telling you, allow Jupiter to have the upper hand and use your wisdom, your humility, your experiences to be able to deal with situations rather than pushing through with your dignity, your need for authority and leadership. This is also important because Saturn with the 7th aspect is directly aspecting the Leo sign. 7th aspect of Saturn is more powerful than the 5th aspect of Jupiter. So Saturn through its Multikrona signs transit to the 3rd house of effort, communication, branding is telling you that in your effort I will give you good results and good gains only when you are able to work hard on your ability to be humble, your ability to work through experiences, use your education. Why education? Because the 9th house is also the house of education or higher learning, even experiential learning. So work surely cut out for Sagittarius ascendant natives that if you are more careful, you allow Jupiter to have the upper hand, your wisdom to have the upper hand, be large-hearted, have a balance in your relationship, then your wishes and desires may come true. May not be to the large extent that would have come otherwise, but surely this is a better placement if you allow wisdom to take the lead rather than your need for authority or your need for leadership. Now for Capricorn ascendant natives, Capricorn rising people, Sun rules your 8th house and Sun is moving into transit into your 10th house, but in its debilitation sign of Libra, the sign of its debilitation. However, the important thing is Sun rules your 8th house of transformations, challenges, problems, upheavals, suddenness, and going into the 10th house of career, which means and in debilitation. So suddenly what you have said, what you have not been able to do, what you have not been able to represent, what you have not been able to present will come back to haunt you in your career, in your work, which means you have to be very careful of how you are showcasing yourself at work, how you are demonstrating your competencies and your capabilities. Especially for those people who are working in IT, insurance, banking sectors, taxations, mineralogy, oil, refineries, manufacturing, for all these people, even medicine, pharma, you need to be slightly more careful because of what you say, what you do, what you present may come back to be slightly more challenging, especially how your leadership sees you. So being more humble, accepting your mistakes can be a better thing, a better strategy rather than trying to push for dignity, trying to stand up for your dignity. Now Jupiter is in mutual aspect or is going to be in mutual aspect with the Sun because of both mutually aspecting each other with the 7th aspect. And Jupiter will also be slightly more protective because Jupiter is also aspecting the Leo sign in the 5th house, this 5th aspect. So while Jupiter is going to be more protective, the challenging part is going to be Saturn through its placement or in transit in the 2nd house with Multikrona sign and aspecting with its more powerful 7th aspect than Leo sign in the 8th house. 7th aspect of Saturn is more powerful than the 5th aspect of Jupiter. And keep in mind, Saturn is also the Lagna Lord. So Lagna Lord's aspect is surely more stronger. So Saturn aspecting the 8th house Leo sign is saying that if you have not worked hard so far on your ability to be able to present yourself with dignity, with using experiences, with humility and with wisdom, then you will not be able to showcase yourself better at work. So work surely cut out for you. The zodiac is saying allow Jupiter to have the upper hand, act with wisdom, act with fortitude, act with humility, act with patience, and then you may be better off rather than unnecessarily challenging authority, unnecessarily pushing for standing up for your dignity and authority, but allow as in a more intellectual manner Jupiter to have the upper hand. Now for Aquarius ascendant natives, Sun rules the 7th house of relations, partnership, and is moving into the Libra sign in the 9th house in the sign of its debilitation. Now what its direct bearing is that the 7th house area's results may come back in a more challenging way to not allow you gains out of the 7th house of partnership, teamwork, ability to work with people, because of your pushing for more dignity or self-pride or authority or trying to control. Even if you are not doing that, people may see that you are trying to push for authority, trying to control them. So you need to be more careful here. This is also important because the sign of relations, Libra, means that it is also the natural ruler of the 7th house and the Kalpurush Kundali. So relationships can really go for a whammy or double impact if you are not careful of how you carry yourself with humility. And because the 9th house is also the house of experience or experiential learning or using wisdom, so the zodiac is telling you please use your wisdom, especially because Jupiter is in the mutual aspect of Sun. Each of them is aspecting each other with the 7th aspect. So the zodiac is telling you allow the wisdom, experiential learning of Jupiter to have the upper hand or to control the need for authority or the need for the push for leadership while Sun is in transit in Libra. If you don't do that, then surely it's going to be challenging. Now Jupiter is giving a double protection to the Sun, one through its 7th aspect on Sun in the 9th house, and keep in mind the 9th house is also the natural house of Jupiter in the Kalpurush Kundali for Aries ascending natives or the Mesh Rashi. So Jupiter is surely giving you higher protection because Jupiter is also aspecting the 7th house, the sign of Leo ruled by Sun, which is 5th aspect. However, the problem is the Lagna Lord Saturn, through its placement in transit in the Aquarius sign, its Multikona sign, is also aspecting the Leo sign. That too with its direct 7th aspect, which is a more powerful aspect than 5th aspect of Jupiter. So the Lagna Lord Saturn's 7th aspect on the Leo sign is telling you that if you have not worked hard on your relations, on your ability to work in a balanced manner, which the 7th house represents and the Libra sign represents, then I will not allow you to make the gains on the 9th house. Especially if you are pushing for or trying to rub people the wrong way, trying to exert authority. Rather than that, try and use your wisdom, your large-heartedness, your humility, then you may get better results. Especially because Jupiter is traveling or transiting through your 3rd house of communication and effort. So your efforts will get better fruits if you are allowing wisdom to have the better hand or control on you rather than pushing for authority or leadership and trying to spoil relationship with your game of one-upmanship. So work surely cut out for Aquarius ascendant natives with Saturn transiting through your Lagna. Allow wisdom of Jupiter to have the upper hand through this next 1 month so that you get better results when Sun goes into Scorpio sign in your 10th house next month. Now for Pisces ascendant natives, Sun rules your 6th house and transiting in your 8th house through its debilitation sign in the sign of Libra. So this can be really challenging placement for Pisces ascendant natives because one Dusthana Lord going into another Dusthana, which can be kind of a small reprise Raj Yoga, but in its debilitation sign means it is surely going to be challenging, which means you may suddenly face issues of 6th house of inimical placements, inimical colleagues, inimical competition, maybe a little bit of sickness, falling sick, maybe losing your immunity, not being able to think through, not being able to think clearly when sudden challenges or issues or upheavals come upon you. So this requires a transformation in your thinking. The main transformation in your thinking which the zodiac is allowing you is because the Lagna Lord Jupiter transiting through your second house is directly in mutual aspect with Sun. So here the zodiac is telling you, rather than to allow Sun to have the upper hand in the mutual aspect of Jupiter, allow Jupiter to have the upper hand by using your wisdom, your humility, your large-heartedness more than your need for control or your need to exert authority. So that's what Sun is. And the zodiac is also telling you that the Lagna Lord aspect is not only on the Sun, but is also with its fifth aspect, trying to be more protective. The sixth house results with the Leo sign is ruled by Sun. But the challenging placement is also because Saturn, through its placement in the 12th house, is aspecting with the 7th aspect, the Dusthana 6th house. And so the message that Saturn is giving is that if you have not worked really hard in your service, in how you deal with colleagues, in how you deal with competition, then I will not allow better gains to come to you or better results to come to you in your service or trying to score over competition, and sudden upheavals may come upon you if you have not really treated your relations well, because the Sun is transiting through Libra sign, the sign of relations. So here if you see for Pisces ascendant natives, both Dusthanas are getting activated. The 6th house is getting activated because Sun rules that particular house because of its rulership of Leo sign. Sun is traveling in reputation through the 8th house, another Dusthana. Saturn is placed in another Dusthana and aspecting the Leo sign, which is ruled by Sun. And Jupiter in the Marakasthana, which is the 2nd house, is aspecting both the 6th house and the 8th house. So allow Jupiter to have a better handle of how you handle things at work, how you handle things in your relations, how you handle relations with your colleagues, and sudden upheavals and challenges, because then you're better placed rather than unnecessarily getting into challenges, problems, issues, pushing for authority, pushing for responsibility, or pushing for leadership. So friends, now that we have seen how Sun's transit into the sign of Libra, into its debilitation sign, will play out different results, different permutations and combinations for different rising sign ascendants. Please do look into which house Sun rules in your horoscope, where it is placed in your Lagna, in your birth chart, and now it is transiting through Libra sign, what doshas, what yogas it is in, because that will also have a bearing on the long-term impact that Sun is going to give to you or bring out to you through its transit in the Libra sign, sign. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me below. Till some other time, some other video. This is your friend, astrologer and guide, Irfan, signing off.